Good evening, and welcome to the 12th part in my read through of the Complete Griselda by Oliver Dickinson. This is story number 12, and that's Devil's Play, which originally appeared in Tales of the Reaching Moon magazine, number 8, I believe, in 1992. So, if you have a drink, and a comfortable seat, I shall begin. Most any time you go into Lilina's and you're able to hear Hanufa yakking, being as her voice is kind of penetrating, but I have to say, I never hear her so loud and clear as this time. So, my friend, she is yelling, you are thinking, must have been easy, yes? Devil's Playground is no problem. You just walk in, walk out, no worries at all. I tell you, I will not do it again. Not for one fistful of wheels. And she holds up a fist to the guy who was catching all this as if she was aiming to belt him out. Take it easy, Hanufa, he cries, pulling back. You got to admit, it's kind of hard to believe it was so dangerous when there ain't even a mark on you. Just then, who walks in but Griselda and Wolfhead and his two best boys, Croquet and Falchar. And Hanufa turns to them. Well, here is the people who can tell you different, she says. Wolfhead, Griselda, please to come tell this idiot what it's like in Devil's Playground. He is thinking, we must have had it easy down there. The guy looks like he wants to crawl into the woodwork as they come over. But they're looking all relaxed and meaning no harm to anyone. Wolfhead says, well, I can scarcely believe it myself. We get out with barely a scratch. We were luckier than I ever counted on being personally. Why, none of my hair is white. Is more than I know, says Griselda. And that yell you gave when the zombie grabbed your leg must have scared me out of a year's growth. If it had been you, they'd have heard you clean to the temple, answers Wolfhead quite sharp. I could feel it right through my marrow, like a vice. No offence, Wolf, he says, Griselda, patting his arm. I doubt anyone here could have done any better. For why are you fooling around in Devil's Playground anyway? Puts in Lilina, who is listening with much interest like many of us. Wolfhead glances at Griselda, who shrugs and says, can't do any harm to tell it now. And look, there's Olaf with his tongue hanging out, and we all laugh. Because for sure, there's nothing but Olaf loves better than stories about her doings. Okay, says Wolfhead, I'll tell some of it, but you've got to help me out, because I never did care to talk for long. Also, I could use a drink. Which I seem to remember is why we came in here. Aye, boy, says Hanufa, all puffed up and proud, and I will help tell, because I see what no one else does. Damn right, says Croquet, and gives her a big hug, and she hugs him right back, to the amazement of all present, for we were never reckoned them for a number before. True enough, says Wolfhead, but let's get things in their proper order, and first is a drink. Selina gets busy, and everyone gathers round to listen. Wolfhead takes a good pull and says, I guess where it all starts is we make a deal with the Pavis cult, which if we do something right will get us out of our hole, square us with most of all the cults that matter. It's that smart priest Brewster who deals with us on behalf of her husband, the real wise guy, old Fleet and M himself. And can she bargain? What it comes down to is this. We've got to accompany this old-time priest of Sunny Boy into the tunnels under the Devil's Playground, and that he knows are there, and see what is to be found. Big Nick, he'd been our go-between in setting up the meeting. He says, well, I never sold no charts. And Croaky here, he says, that's our death warrant. But we all wanted out of the rubble the worst way, and it's the best chance we're going to get. So off we go with this priestess to the temple, all but Symbol, who'd snuck off somewhere while we were dickering. They're going to send some 10th initiate with us, and they're going to and they're going to send around for friends to side with us too. But nobody had the nerve, except Hanufa. Well, maybe if I'm not full of beer, I will think twice, says Hanufa. But once this Pavis man gets me to understand my friends need me, I say sure, why not? But when I get there, none of you is looking very happy. And what is it you say to me, Croaked? Croaked scratches his head at this. Something about it being chaos hunting. Could be tough. And we might not all make it, he says. But you don't seem to let it bother you. We had too much time to sit and think, says Wolfhead. I never liked that. Well, we made a fair bunch. For this same initiate, a guy called Zalvar looked pretty handy with his axe. And the old priest, he was stone blind, but he handled himself well. Though none of us was going to have to look out for him. Also, I had a bit of extra help, by which I mean some poison. And we mostly put it on our weapons, since it had worked so well for us when a chaos gang tried jumping us. He finishes his drink and says, I never talk so much. Grizzy, you take over for a while. Right, she says. We left the temple early in the morning. Moved along, nice and quiet through the rubble, until we reached the spot we were heading for, this great big tree. The priest had to do a ritual here, and like all ritual, it takes forever. And we hang around getting bitten half to death by the insects and feeling jumpier by the minute. But finally, it's over. And there's this big dark hole showing in some masonry at the bottom of the tree. He tells us to walk down, never mind the darkness, and sure enough, there are steps, but that darkness is so thick the torches won't work till we're at the bottom, and then they are just dim. We found ourselves in a round tunnel, smooth as if it had been cut. One of the priests had been there before. He went east and met Bruce, so we went west, since our job was to get information first of all. Shortly we came to a wall that looked very high, but the priest could hear it so well that like blind well can, that he knew that there were people at the top. Since they showed no lights, they figured to be trolls or dwarves. So Zalvar calls out Amostali, but that didn't raise a spark. So Wolfhead, who was taking most of the decision, told me to try some dark tongue. Well, the priest didn't like it. You should have heard her, says Wolfhead, chuckling, jabbering away like they were long-lost pals, even having yourselves a laugh. How anyone can laugh down there, puts in Hanufa. I see nothing funny. I do not like it at all in the dark, the silence, but Griselda is one very brave person, and she's not afraid of trolls or the dark or anything. Yeah, says Griselda, cutting her off. For she never likes people roaring about her when she can hear. Anyway, I got some information. The trolls were guarding their territory against brews and six-legged monsters with big mouths and such. They knew of me, and the leader said maybe we'd meet if the chaos trash didn't eat me. And I said no chance, if trolls couldn't do it, and that tickled them. So we went the other way, says Wolfhead, back to where we started, and it was clear we had to go on, because we hadn't got much information at all. We came to a branch in the tunnel pretty soon, and the priest says, right, and after a while we come to another, and he says, left, and then again, right. But after that, he's just plain confused, with the tunnels going off every which way. It was clear we had to have a system. It was me who suggested looking for tracks, said Filcher, looking real proud. So you did, says Wolfhead. Well, we couldn't see none there, so we went back to the first fork, and here I see some human tracks and others along a different branch. We moved along there cautious-like until we reached a big cave with a stream and even a little bridge, which made a nice change. Yes, said Griselda, but the priest remembered that this was where the torches started getting really dim, and Zalvar got a bad case of the jitters and wanted to go back. But you wouldn't. Damn right, says Wolfhead. We hadn't got near enough to impress old Fleet and Nim, I thought, so I said we ought to light more torches and go on, and the priest said I was right. So we done that, and we went on until I couldn't see the tracks, and we talked on what to do, because this darkness was magical. No doubt of that. Finally, the priest offers to put a spell on me, which make me see like a cat, as long as there's any light at all, and will last a whole day. And I went for that. It sure made a difference, but I still went wrong on the tracks. Found the human ones that split off back a piece. And the priest said if the torches weren't getting any dimmer, we weren't getting to the heart of things. So back we go again, follow the tracks along another fork. Then the torches started going for sure. Which you didn't notice with that spell, said Griselda. But would like to assure everyone here that there is nothing quite so hard on the nerves as having the lights get dimmer and dimmer when you're underground and a long way from the exit. Up until now, she'd been pretty chipper. In fact, they all have, but her voice is slightly strained as she finishes this. Cricket rubs her hand over his face, looking very down, and Filcher says quietly, almost to himself, "You can practically feel that darkness." While Hanifa bangs on the wall says, "My hand is shaking, so the torch nearly go out, and all I can do not to turn and run when the light is finally gone." When that happens, suddenly I couldn't see either, Wolfhead goes on. And I sure could appreciate how everyone else was feeling. Well, Zufar reckons we must be close to the magic that's making this darkness, and the priest wants to use a spell to point to it. But I showed him it was crazy to think of walking into darkness, and we wouldn't see where it was pointing, would we? So he comes up with another spell, which makes light like the sun shine off his head. So I can see just fine, and there's like in twilight, and he lengthens it too, so we will have plenty of time. Then he does this spell for finding magic, and sure enough, it points to a closed source. We moved up on it as quiet as we could, says Griselda, and saw where the rock had dropped away. So we agreed. Wolfhead would crawl to the edge, with the priest behind to give light. You have to admit that took nerve. Though a light could have been seen by anything below, and yet we heard nothing. And I listened hard enough. You bet, says Wolfhead, but nothing. Then I inched my head over the edge, but of course I couldn't see down. So Zalvar brings the priest, and he puts his head over the edge, so the light can shine all ways, and he holds out his magic pointer, and then I get a good view. I see a big stone in the middle, and lots of stuff stacked about in boxes and sacks, and a rope ladder hanging down. And at the bottom, wait for it, there are skeletons and what look like trolls, which the priest's pointer is pointing at. But they don't act like we know we're there. Which makes them zombies, says Griselda. And the priest figures that stone is likely to be the source of the dimming magic and ought to be destroyed. But first we better get this undead trash out of the way. Luckily they had no weapons. I wanted to let them come up the ladder and knock them off, says Croquet. But we decided to try a bit of slinging first on those skeletons, being as they got no armour, and haul up the ladder while they were doing it. At first we weren't doing so good. But Grizzly got going with the magic ring, knocked down 2, one of which was my bird, growls Wolfhead. Then we started popping their skulls good, and Croaky helpfully let the ladder down for their zombies. We held one at the top, which blocked the rest, but then we learned a bit about how zombies are hard to knock out. Finally, I must have cut a tendon or something, because it collapses, and then Croaky and Hanufa rush the next over the edge, and it falls on the third, knocking it off the ladder. Zelva says we ought to throw the first one over, which by now he smashed up so it couldn't move, and we got a good swing and landing it right on top of the other. It was not at all nice to hold that zombie, says Hanufa, taking a long pull at a beer. But it's good to see them knock each other down and smash the skeletons. After that, there was only one zombie on its feet, says Wolfhead, and I'm game to go in and finish it. But it grabbed me before I got off the ladder. That's when I yelled. Which is when Griselda is most brave, cries Hanufa, for she jumps down to help him. Griselda shakes her head. Dumbest thing I ever done for some time. I must have got carried away by all these brave deeds. I didn't even land well, but I rolled with it and came up. And then the zombie picks Wolfhead right up and throws him. Could have been worse, says Wolfhead. But I was very short of breath for a while there. Luckily, them zombies are not fast movers. And the others get down and finally take the last apart, though the one we threw was still twitching some. Then we finally get at the stone, which seemed like an altar, says Griselda. Just bashing it had no effect. But it was not part of the floor, so I thought we could lift it and throw it. I like that we, says Wolfhead, but she was right. Me and Zelva and Filchar and Hanufa pick it up and throw it at the wall. But it just chipped. And then Zelva has a great idea. We use this rope he has and haul it up to the top and then drop it. Took a lot of heaving, but when we let it go, it smashed straight off and everything lit up like day in there from the old priest's light spell. He could feel it was gone. Said his god must have been watching out for us. But he was right pleased. So was I, to be able to see proper, says Hanufa. Priest says he will commend us to his god, which is nice to say. The among people worship Yom himself, not this little Yamalio. Why do some people here think he is so great? Wolfhead waved a hand. I got no opinion on that. Anyway, we all felt as if a cloud was off our mind. I got down to looking in the boxes and sacks. I'm not about to say all we found, but it was sure worth some very fine food, says Hanufa, licking her lips, which I was glad of because I was starved by this time. Yeah, you'd still be eating it, said Croquet, digging in the ribs. Hanufa giggles, but Griselda says sharply, so would you. You're all acting like it was all over. It was me who got you moving. Well, Hanufa's right. It was good stuff, said Wolfhead, grinning at her. Anyway, we picked up what we could that we had sorted out as worth having. As we were going to get to keep some of it, some if we'd done right. And then we started back careful and smart like, with the priest like working for us. Just as well, says Filchar. Or I could have spotted nothing in that cave. Yeah, there was a little reception committee there for us, says Wolfhead, breaking in again as if he wants to tell most of the story, despite what he was saying at first. Well, we had to rush him, because someone drops their sword, and he glares at Hanufa. I got off a good shot and knocked one down, which Zalvi chopped, but the others got away, though it turned out I hit another and the poison offed it. Most seemed to be these six-legged things with the trolls had mentioned. But some were like crossed with brew. We knew they'd wait for us in the tunnels, so we put more poison on any weapons that we had used, and any who had them put up protecting spells. The priest knows these six-legged creatures. Says they chewed out the tunnels. They were the creatures of some chaos god and very dangerous, which I could certainly believe. He had plenty of information on them, but it didn't at all make us happy. They could jump about, spit sticky stuff, poison us with biting, or magic us with their tongues, said Hanufa. I never hear of such things before. And he said they stay underground and tunnel all over the world, Croquet throws in, which is one reason why no one isn't some kind of hero who should go down there. But we faced them well enough, didn't we, Hanny? This is where the priest spells really came in handy, says Wolfhead. I could see way ahead of the light off him and spot where they were waiting. I told the rest that what I could see, which was 3 monsters and one of the brew crosses in 2 passages. And said Zelfa, he was at this point, she was like he was unsure. He must have fooled them, because I got the chance to nail one monster ahead of me, and we're on them before the bruise cross could yell. Now, I see what no one else sees, cried Hanufa in great excitement. It is one more monster in third tunnel. So I shout and face it. It sticks me up, but only in my shield arm, and it missed me when it jumps. But Griselda gets it with a dot. Poisoned, puts in Griselda, and we're not doing too badly, except the Croquet gets stuck, and Zelfire is not able to kill the brew. They keep sticking us, in fact, says Wolfhead. But all got hit with something poisoned, and we managed to stay ahead of them until they dropped. Filcher surprised that brew with some coffin dust, best idea I ever had, and I stuck it deep with my spear, just to lay it down, and coughed itself to death. We're all getting untangled and aiming to take trophy when Croquet came running, saying there's more on the way. I heard him when I went to pick up my throwing axe, said Croquet. Nasty scrabbling sound. Could have been anything else. So we all held our breath and ran through the dust cloud, which seemed to help, keeping them off, said Wolfhead. Snakefang sells good stuff. We couldn't go fast because Zelfa had turned his ankle, and one got through and nearly stuck up on me in the rear. But I heard it in time, knocked it over, and that good old poison did its stuff. I took a claw for trophy, and just as well. We got out just before the priest's light spell ended, says Griselda, and made it back to the temple without trouble. And there are all these priests and such waiting for us, mostly looking hostile. That claw was a good argument when asked how they could believe anything we said. Southar spoke well for us, said it was Wolfhead's shooting, and he was shooting well that day. And the priest's spells that got us in and out so easy, and Fleet and Neen backed him and the priest for truth-tellers. They all changed their tune when we told them the whole story. In fact, it got damn uncomfortable, says Wolfhead. You'd think we were genuine heroes of the way Fleet and Neen's going on, but then we had turned up some stuff he thought would be really useful. No more on that, says Griselda fast. Let's just say we got good treatment from him and the others. And everything the best while we were in the temple. It all worked out okay, says Wolfhead. In fact, we're always respectable now. Might do some work for old Daddy Pavis. But if I'd known what it was going to be like, he shakes his head, and for a moment he looks kind of odd about the eyes. So do they all, in fact, like they'd just woken from a nightmare. No one speaks, until finally Cricket says, "Going after chaos stuff is for crazies like them stormballs." "Yeah," says Wolfhead, and looks around at us all. "Maybe, how we tell it, it sounds easy, but there's no way you can get the feel, not without going down there, which I would not advise personally." "In fact," says Griselda, you can take it like the old song. You can bet your last clack and the shirt off your back, we'll never go back there again." Okay. Right, that was story number 12. Next time, number 13, which will be a bad example. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, let me know in the comments below. And I look forward to reading you another story soon. Thank you.